The morning sun climbed over the eastern hills, painting the valley in soft gold light. Taiho stood on the grassy slope, one hand shading his eyes as he watched his horses graze. The air felt different today. Cleaner, maybe, or just full of something he couldn't name. Bayo, his favorite mare, lifted her head suddenly. Her ears moved forward, alert. Taiho noticed and frowned. The animal sensed something he did not. "What is it, girl?" he asked, walking closer. The horse's muscles tensed beneath her chestnut coat. She wasn't scared. Taiho knew what fear looked like in a horse. This was different. This was attention. Then he heard it too, a low hum that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It grew louder, making the air itself shake slightly. "Everyone, come quick!" Taiho shouted toward the village below. People emerged from their homes, simple but sturdy buildings made of wood and stone. This place, nestled in what was once called Korea, had survived when most of the world had fallen. The Great Collapse had destroyed the old nations 200 years ago, but these highlands had endured. The humming sound grew louder. Then, breaking through the clouds, strange metal discs appeared. 5 of them, each as big as 10 houses put together. They gleamed in the sunlight, smooth and perfect, unlike anything made by human hands since the old times. "What are they?" asked Han, a young boy who had run up the hill to stand beside Taiho. "I don't know," Taiho answered honestly, "but stay close to me." The metal discs, no, ships, moved with no sound but the hum. They didn't need wings or wheels. They simply floated, defying gravity itself. Elder Minji walked slowly up the hill, her cane pressing into the soft earth with each step. Despite her age, her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. "The old stories," she said quietly. They spoke of visitors from beyond the sky. One of the ships lowered itself to the large flat area where the village held its harvest festivals. It hovered just above the ground, sending dust and loose grass flying away from it in all directions. As the villagers gathered at a safe distance, the other ships remained in the sky, circling slowly. Taiho noticed something odd. While the people watched with fear and wonder, the horses across the hillside stood calmly, their eyes fixed on the ships. A section of the landed ship's smooth surface slid open. A ramp extended to touch the ground. 3 figures walked out. They were tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like fish scales in the sunlight. They stood on 2 legs like humans, but moved with strange grace. Their faces had eyes, nose, and mouth in roughly the same places as human faces, but everything was slightly wrong. Eyes too large, noses too flat, mouths too wide. "Bring your leader," said the one in front. Its voice sounded almost like a human voice, but with a metallic edge that made Taiho's skin crawl. The alien looked at the stunned humans, then at the horses on the hill. It made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You still use animals for work? How primitive." 2 more aliens emerged from the ship. Behind them came a smaller hovering platform carrying strange equipment. Unlike the large ships, this small craft made almost no sound as it floated over the ground. Taiho felt a hand on his arm. It was Elder Minji. "Go to the stables," she whispered. "Make sure all the horses are secure." "But I want to." "Now, Taiho," she said firmly. "Our ancestors didn't preserve the bloodlines of those horses for no reason. They are more important than you know." As Taiho reluctantly headed toward the stables, he heard the lead alien speaking again. "I am Commander Mavic of the Naviri Exploration Force. Your world now falls under our protection." The way the alien said protection made Taiho's blood run cold. He looked back at Bayo and the other horses. They still watched the aliens calmly, but their eyes seemed knowing, like they had seen this before. Taiho hurried to the stables, his mind racing. Why had their ancestors been so careful about keeping these specific horses? What did Elder Minji know that he didn't? And why did the horses seem to remember something that happened long before they were born? Elder Minji stood tall despite her age. The village council gathered behind her as they faced the aliens in the village square. Commander Mavic towered over the humans, his scaled skin catching the afternoon light. "We come with an offer," Mavic said. His words came through a small device at his throat that turned his strange sounds into human speech. "Your land has minerals we need. Give us access to your fields and hills, and work for us. In return, we will protect you." Tahoe watched from the edge of the crowd. He had made sure all horses were safe in the stables, but he couldn't stop thinking about their calm eyes. Now he stood close enough to hear, but far enough to slip away if needed. "And if we refuse?" Elder Minji asked. Her voice did not shake. The alien commander made that strange laughing sound again. "There is no refuse, only different terms." He pointed to another alien who stepped forward holding a small metal rod. "A demonstration," Mavic said. The alien pointed the rod at an empty grain storage building at the edge of the square. A beam of bright blue light shot out. In seconds, the building was gone. Not burned, not broken, just gone. Where it had stood was only a circle of scorched earth. Gasps and cries filled the air. Children hid behind their parents. Some people fell to their knees. But Elder Minji remained standing. "I see," she said quietly. "Now the terms," Mavic continued as if nothing unusual had happened. "Half your people will work in the mines we will create. The rest will grow food for the workers. We begin tomorrow." "We need time to prepare," Elder Minji said. "One day," Mavic replied. "Prepare your people. When the sun rises again, work begins." The aliens turned and walked back to their ship. The hovering platform followed them, carrying boxes of equipment. As soon as they were gone, the village erupted in frightened talk. "What can we do? They will destroy us. We must obey them." Elder Minji raised her hands for silence. "Everyone, remain calm. Return to your homes. Council members, come with me." Tahoe didn't move. He wasn't on the council, but something told him he needed to hear what they would say. Elder Minji saw him standing there and nodded slightly. It was permission to join them. They gathered in the meeting hall, a simple wooden building with a long table in the center. 12 elders plus Tahoe sat in worried silence. "They will take everything," said June, who led the farmers. "Our fields, our future. We cannot fight weapons that make buildings disappear," added Sunho, the village blacksmith. Elder Minji looked at each person around the table. "Our ancestors survived the Great Collapse for a reason. They left us tools we may not fully understand." She turned to Tahoe. "Tell them what you saw with the horses." Tahoe sat up straighter. The horses were not afraid of the aliens or their ships. They watched them like they recognized them somehow, or at least recognized the danger. Bayol and the others seemed almost ready for something. "Just animals being calm doesn't help us against those weapons," Sunho muttered. "They are not just animals," Elder Minji said firmly. "Tahoe, your family has cared for these horses for 7 generations. Did your father ever tell you why these specific bloodlines were so important?" Tahoe thought hard. He said they were special, that they carried memories from before, that in time of need, they would remember. "Remember what?" asked June. "The war," Elder Minji said. "The last war before everything fell. The war that the horses helped fight." The room went silent. Then Sunho laughed, a harsh sound. "Horses don't fight wars. People do." "Not these horses," Elder Minji said. "Tahoe, tonight you must go to Bayol. Place your hand on her forehead, between her eyes, and keep it there. Your father showed you how." Tahoe nodded slowly. "Yes, but it never did anything special." "Because there was no need," Elder Minji said. "Now there is need." As they spoke, a sound like distant thunder rolled across the sky. Through the windows, they could see more alien ships arriving. "We have 1 day," Elder Minji said. "By tomorrow, we must know if the horses remember." Night fell over the village. The alien ships hovered in the sky, their lights making strange patterns among the stars. Everyone stayed in their homes, afraid of what tomorrow would bring. Everyone except Teo. He walked to the stables, a wooden lantern in his hand. The soft yellow light pushed back the darkness just enough for him to see his way. His heart beat fast in his chest. Inside the stable, the horses moved restlessly. They could sense something was wrong. All except Bayol. She stood perfectly still in her stall, watching Tahoe with those deep, knowing eyes. "Hello, girl," Tahoe said softly. He hung the lantern on a hook and stepped into the stall. "Elder Minji thinks you know something. That you remember something." Bayol snorted gently. Was it just his imagination, or did she nod slightly? Tahoe reached out his hand, palm flat, the way his father had shown him many times. Between the eyes, his father had always said, "That's where the connection lives." He placed his hand on Bayol's forehead. Her fur felt warm and soft under his fingers. Nothing happened. "Come on," Tahoe whispered. "We need help. Those aliens will destroy everything." Still nothing. Tahoe closed his eyes. He remembered more of his father's words. The horses don't just remember with their minds. They remember with their blood. And they share those memories through the heart. Tahoe took a deep breath. He cleared his mind of fear. He thought only of his connection to Bayol, to all the horses he had helped raise. The trust between them. The bond that went back generations. Then it happened. Images flooded his mind, not like normal thoughts. These were sharp and clear, like they were being painted directly into his head. He saw horses, hundreds of them, running across a battlefield. But they weren't normal horses. Some had strange armor that glowed with blue light. Others moved with impossible speed. And all of them carried soldiers into battle against machines that looked almost like the alien ships. The vision shifted. Now he saw people in white coats in a bright room. They worked with tools Tahoe didn't understand. One held up a thin needle with glowing liquid inside. "The final enhancement," the person said. "Cognitive abilities, electromagnetic disruption, and genetic memory. Everything humanity needs to survive what's coming." Another shift. A different scene. A small group of people leading horses away from a burning city. "Take them to the highlands," a woman in a torn uniform said. "Keep the bloodlines pure. When they return, and they will return, the horses will remember. They'll remember how to fight them." The vision faded. Tahoe opened his eyes, gasping. Bayol was looking at him calmly, as if to say, "Now you know." "You're not just horses," Tahoe whispered in amazement. "You're weapons. Living weapons our ancestors created for the last war." He stroked Bayol's neck. Under his fingers, he felt something strange, a slight bump beneath the skin that he had never noticed before. As he touched it, he had a flash of understanding. It was some kind of technology, something that had been sleeping inside the horses for generations, waiting to be awakened. "They didn't just make you smart," he said. "They made you able to fight those machines." Bayol snorted and pawed at the ground. Tahoe felt a strange sensation, like the horse was pushing thoughts into his mind. Not words exactly, but feelings, ideas. She wanted to show him something else. He placed his hand on her forehead again. This time, the connection came easily. A new image formed. He saw Bayol running near one of the alien hovercrafts. As she got close, the craft's lights flickered, and it dropped suddenly before catching itself. Tahoe's eyes snapped open. "You can affect their machines," he said in wonder. "That's what you were made to do." He needed to tell Elder Minji right away. But first, he had to check something. He went to each stall, placing his hand on each horse's forehead. One by one, they shared pieces of the same memory. Each horse carried part of the knowledge, part of the power. Together, they might have a chance against the aliens. As he left the stable, Tahoe looked up at the alien ships. For the first time since they arrived, he felt something new. Hope. Dawn was just breaking when Tahoe knocked on 2 doors in the village. First was the home of Doyan, who could fix anything mechanical. The second was Sora's house. She knew more about old-world history than anyone except Elder Minji. "Come to the backfield," Taiho whispered to each of them. "Bring your horses." They met as the sun peeked over the hills. The alien ships still hung in the sky, dark shapes against the morning light. "This better be important," Doyan said, rubbing sleep from his eyes. His gray horse, Dubu, stood quietly beside him. "I was up all night reading the old books," Sora said. She patted her black mare, Haru, looking for anything about the horses. Tahoe looked at his friends carefully. "Have your horses been acting strange since the aliens came?" Watching them too closely, Doyan and Sora exchanged glances. "Dubu won't stop looking at the sky," Doyan admitted. "And yesterday, when an alien walked past us, I could feel him tense up, like he wanted to charge." Sora nodded. "Haru kept pulling me toward the stable where we keep the old metal things. She's never done that before." "I know why," Taiho said. He told them everything he had seen in his vision from Bayol, about the enhanced horses, the war, and the special abilities hidden in their DNA. When he finished, his friends were silent for a long moment. "That's crazy," Doyan finally said. "But it makes sense. My grandfather always said our horses were special, that they had a purpose." "I found something in the old books," Sora added. She pulled a worn piece of paper from her pocket. On it was a faded drawing of a horse with lines pointing to different parts of its body, with strange writing next to each line. "I couldn't read most of it, but this part here," she pointed to some words, "says companion animals, and battlefield enhancement, and electromagnetic disruption field." "That's it," Tahoe said excitedly. "Put your hand on your horse's forehead, between the eyes. Focus on your connection with them." Doyan looked skeptical but did as Tahoe asked. After a few moments, his eyes widened. "I can feel something, like Dubu is trying to talk to me." Sora gasped as she connected with Haru. "I can see it. Soldiers and horses fighting together against machines." For the next hour, they practiced with their horses, strengthening the mental connection. With each attempt, it became easier to share thoughts and images with the animals. "We need to test something," Tahoe said finally. He pointed to a small alien device at the edge of the field. The aliens had placed these markers around the village, probably to map the area. "Let's see if they really can disrupt their technology." They rode their horses toward the marker. As they got close, the light on the device flickered. When all 3 horses stood around it, the light went out completely. "It works," Doyan whispered excitedly. "They really can affect alien technology." "But 3 horses only stopped one small device," Sora pointed out. "How can we stop their ships?" "We need more riders," Tahoe said. "And we need to learn exactly what our horses can do." They spent the rest of the morning practicing. They discovered that the horses could run faster and jump higher than normal horses. They seemed stronger too. But most importantly, when they rode in certain formations, the disruptive effect on nearby technology grew stronger. "The aliens will start putting people to work soon," Sora said, looking toward the village where the Naviri were gathering people. "Then we work for them," Tahoe said. "For now, it will give us cover while we prepare." "Prepare for what?" Doyan asked. "Resistance," Tahoe answered. "We need to contact the other villages. They have horses from the same bloodlines. Together, we might have enough power to drive the aliens away." As they rode back to the village, they passed a group of people being led to the fields by alien guards. The people looked scared, heads down. "When do we tell everyone?" Sora asked quietly. "Not yet," Tahoe said. "The aliens might be watching too closely. For now, only those who have horses need to know. Tell them one by one, carefully." He looked up at the alien ships. "We only get one chance to surprise them. We need to make it count." A week passed. The aliens set up mining operations in the fields where crops once grew. They made the villagers work long hours digging for minerals. Two guards watched each group of workers, making sure no one stopped or ran away. Tahoe worked in the mines like everyone else. He moved dirt and rocks while watching the aliens closely. He learned their patterns, when they changed guards, how their weapons worked. Every night, he shared what he learned with Do-Yun and Sora. Their group grew slowly. Now 10 people knew about the horse's special abilities. 10 riders who practiced in secret, deep in the forest where the aliens didn't go. Today, something was different. New guards had arrived, meaner than the others. One pushed an old man who wasn't working fast enough. The old man fell hard to the ground. "Get up," the alien guard said through its speaking device. "Work continues." The old man tried to stand but couldn't. His leg was hurt. The guard raised its weapon. Useless humans are removed. Tahoe couldn't wait any longer. Their plan wasn't ready, but he had to do something now. "Biol," he whispered. His horse was tied at the edge of the work area, where all the villagers' horses waited to carry heavy loads. Through their mental connection, Tahoe sent an image. Asterisk, "Come to me, but stay hidden behind the rock pile." Asterisk. Biol pulled free of her rope. None of the guards noticed as she quietly moved behind a large pile of rocks near Tahoe. The guard was still standing over the old man, weapon pointed down. Tahoe slipped away from his work group and reached Biol. He quickly mounted. "Now," he whispered to her, "just like we practiced." He focused his mind, connecting deeply with Biol. Through her eyes, he could see energy patterns around them. The alien weapons and communication devices gave off a glow that humans couldn't see, but the horses could. Together, they focused on the guard's weapon. Biol's special ability activated. The air seemed to shimmer around them. The guard pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. The alien looked at its weapon in confusion, pressing buttons frantically. That's when Tahoe and Biol charged. They burst from behind the rocks, moving faster than any normal horse and rider could move. Before the guard could react, Tahoe swung a heavy shovel he had grabbed. It hit the alien hard, knocking it to the ground. The second guard turned, raising its weapon. But Biol was already changing direction, her hooves digging into the dirt. Tahoe felt her power pulsing outward, disrupting all alien technology nearby. The second guard's weapon also failed. Tahoe knocked this one down too. "Help the old man," he called to the other workers. Quickly, 2 villagers ran to the fallen elder, helping him to his feet. Everyone else stared in shock at what had just happened. Tahoe knew they had little time. Soon other guards would come to check on this area. "Listen to me," he said urgently. "The horses are special. They can fight the aliens. Spread the word quietly. Be ready when the time comes." He turned Biol and galloped away before more aliens could arrive. They rode deep into the forest where Do-Yun, Sora, and the others waited with their horses. "What happened?" Sora asked when she saw his face. "I had to act." Tahoe explained what had happened at the mine. They were going to kill an old man. "Did anyone see what Biol can do?" Do-Yun asked worriedly. "Just our people," Tahoe said. "The aliens won't know what happened. They'll think their weapons just failed." As if to confirm his words, they heard a distant alarm from the alien ships. Through their horses, they sensed confusion and anger from the aliens. "They don't understand what happened," Sora said, her hand on Haru's neck, receiving images from her horse. "Good," Tahoe replied. "But now we have to move faster. We need to contact the other villages tonight." "I can go," offered Do-Yun. "Dubu is the fastest. And I'll check the old storage caves," Sora added. "Elder Minji says there might be more information about the horses there, maybe even old weapons." Tahoe nodded. "The aliens will be watching more closely now. We need to be careful. But today we proved one thing." "What's that?" asked one of the newer riders. Tahoe smiled, patting Biol's neck. "We proved they can be beaten." Commander Mavic stood on the ramp of his ship, looking out at the village. His scaled face showed no emotion, but his posture was stiff with anger. 3 technical failures in 1 week, he said to his second-in-command. First, the marking devices. Then 2 weapons in the mining area. Now the communication system. It must be this planet's magnetic field, the other alien replied. Our readings show strange energy patterns. Or perhaps, Mavic said slowly, these humans are not as simple as they seem. Below in the village square, aliens were gathering the humans. Today was the day of the demonstration, as Mavic called it. The day to remind the humans who was in charge. Tahoe stood with the other villagers. Over the past week, their secret group had grown to 25 riders. Do-hyun had returned with good news. 2 other villages had horses from the same bloodlines. They were preparing to help. Now Tahoe watched as a massive alien vehicle moved slowly into the square. It wasn't like their hovercrafts. This was bigger, with a huge barrel pointing forward. Tahoe didn't need to be told what it was. The weapon looked like something from his visions of the old war. Commander Mavic's voice boomed across the square. Some of you may think you can resist us. You cannot. This energy cannon will show you the price of disobedience. The aliens aimed the cannon at a large rock at the edge of the village. Tahoe knew what would happen. Like the storage building on the first day, the rock would simply disappear. But something else caught his attention. The horses. All the village horses had been brought to carry the day's mining loads. They stood in a group near the square, and they were all looking at the cannon with the same focused gaze Tahoe had seen before. Through his connection with Biol, Tahoe could feel something building. A kind of energy that flowed between the horses, growing stronger. The horses were doing something, working together even without riders to guide them. The cannon began to hum loudly. Lights flashed along its barrel. Watch carefully, Mavic called to the crowd. This is the power you face if you... He never finished. With a sound like thunder, the cannon exploded. Pieces of metal flew in all directions. The aliens operating it were thrown to the ground. One piece struck a nearby hovercraft, tearing through its smooth surface. The craft tilted sideways and crashed to the ground with a loud crunch. Chaos erupted. Aliens ran to the damaged equipment. Humans scattered, running back to their homes. Through the confusion, Tahoe kept his eyes on Commander Mavic. The alien leader was standing perfectly still, staring not at the ruined cannon, but at the horses. For just a moment, their eyes met across the square. Tahoe felt a chill. Mavic suspected something. Move the horses now, Tahoe whispered to Sora, who stood nearby. Get them away from here. As Sora hurried to lead the horses away, Elder Minji approached Mavic. A terrible accident, she said calmly. Perhaps your equipment doesn't work well in our air. Mavic's large eyes narrowed. Perhaps, he said coldly. Or perhaps there is something in your air that affects our technology. Something we have not detected yet. He turned to his guards. Bring me one of their horses. I wish to examine it. Tahoe's heart jumped in his chest. If the aliens discovered the truth about the horses, everything would be lost. Our horses are needed for the mining work, Elder Minji said quickly. Without them, we cannot move the heavy loads. One horse will not be missed, Mavic replied. He pointed at a brown horse nearby. That one. It wasn't one of the special bloodline, Tahoe realized with relief. Just a regular farm horse. But how long before the aliens noticed the difference? How long before they tested all the horses? We need more time, Tahoe whispered to Do-hyun. Tonight we must send word to all the villages. The day after tomorrow, we make our move. So soon? Do-hyun asked, worried. We're not ready. We have no choice, Tahoe said, watching as the aliens led the brown horse away. Mavic suspects something. Once he starts looking closely at our horses, he'll find the truth. Do-hyun nodded grimly. I'll tell the others. Day after tomorrow, we fight. Night fell over the village. A soft rain began to fall, making the ground muddy and the air misty. It was perfect weather for secret meetings. Tahoe, Sora, and Do-hyun sat with Elder Minji in the back room of her house. On the table between them lay an old map of the area, yellowed with age. Stones marked the positions of the alien ships. The aliens have set up their main base here, Tahoe said, pointing to a flat area north of the village. 5 big ships and 15 smaller craft. They've built some kind of tower too. A communication tower, Do-Yun added. He had spent the day watching the aliens while pretending to repair tools. I think they use it to talk to their mothership. Mothership? Elder Minji asked. Sora nodded. From what we've learned, these aren't all the Naviri. The main ship stays in orbit, high above the planet. These are just the first wave. The news made everyone quiet for a moment. There were more aliens waiting to come down. The riders from the other villages will arrive tomorrow night, Tahoe finally said. That gives us 75 horses and riders in total. Not enough, Do-Yun said, shaking his head. They have too many weapons. Tahoe smiled slightly. That's where this comes in. He pulled out a small metal piece he had taken from the exploded cannon. Sora figured out what it is. Sora took the piece and pointed to tiny markings on it. This is part of their shield generator. Their big ships use the same technology, just larger. When our horses disrupted the cannon's energy flow, it overloaded. Which means, Tahoe continued, if we can get enough horses close to their main ships, we can overload their shields too. But how do we get close? Do-Yun asked. They'll see us coming. That's when Elder Minji opened an old wooden chest in the corner of the room. From it, she pulled out dusty fabric in different colors. Our ancestors saved more than just horses, she said. These are from the old war too. Tahoe touched the fabric. It was unlike anything he had felt before. Light but strong, and somehow it seemed to change color slightly as it moved. Camouflage, Elder Minji explained. The old warriors used it to hide from machines. There's enough here to cover 30 riders. That's still not enough for all 75, Do-Yun pointed out. We don't all need to be hidden, Tahoe said, a plan forming in his mind. Only the first group. He moved stones around on the map. We send 30 riders with camouflage to the main base at night. They get close enough to disrupt the shields and communication tower. Then what? Sora asked. Then, Tahoe said, the rest of us attack from 3 directions. He placed more stones on the map, showing the attack routes, while their shields are down and they can't call for help from their mothership. Elder Minji studied the map carefully. The risk is great, she said softly. Many could die. Many are already dying in the mines, Do-Yun said bitterly. Yesterday they worked 2 people until they collapsed. They didn't even stop to help them. Tahoe nodded grimly. And it will only get worse. If the mothership brings down more Naviri, we may lose our chance to fight back. Sora had been studying the piece from the cannon. I think we need to capture Commander Mavic, she said suddenly. The others looked at her in surprise. Why? Tahoe asked. In the old books, it says armies need leaders. Cut off the head and the body falls. Sora drew a circle on the map. He stays in this ship. If we capture him, the other aliens might stop fighting. Elder Minji's eyes showed a flash of pride. A wise strategy, but very dangerous. I'll lead that team, Tahoe said firmly. Biold is the strongest and fastest. They spent the next hours working out every detail. Who would attack where? Which horses would be paired together to maximize their disruptive effect? What signals to use? As dawn approached, they finally had their plan. Tomorrow night, Tahoe said, looking at each face around the table, we take back our home. Outside, the rain had stopped. The first light of day revealed the alien ships, still hovering over the village like giant metal clouds. But now, for the first time, they didn't seem so untouchable. No moon lit the sky. Perfect darkness covered the hills as 75 riders gathered in the forest. The horses stood quietly, somehow knowing they should make no sound. Tahoe looked at the gathered forces with pride. Some riders had traveled all day to be here. Each one wore simple armor made from leather and scavenged metal. Each carried a weapon. farm tools mostly, made stronger by Doyen's skill. 30 riders, including Tahoe, wore the special fabric over themselves and their horses. In the darkness, they seemed to fade into the shadows. "Remember the plan," Tahoe said softly to the group. "First team gets close to disrupt their shields and communications. When you see the signal fire, all groups attack at once." Sora checked a rough-made watch, another thing saved from before the collapse. "It's time," she said. Tahoe nodded. "For our homes," he said. "For our homes," the riders repeated in whispers. The first group moved out, their horses stepping carefully through the dark forest. Tahoe led them, with Baeol moving as silently as a shadow. Through their mental connection, he could feel her excitement and determination. She knew what this night meant. They reached the edge of the forest. Ahead lay open ground, and beyond that, the alien base. 5 large ships formed a circle, with the communication tower rising in the center. Smaller craft moved between them, carrying aliens and supplies. Bright lights swept the area. "Stay close," Tahoe whispered. "Move when I move." They waited for a patrol to pass, then rushed across the open ground. The special fabric worked better than Tahoe had hoped. The alien lights passed over them, but detected nothing. They reached the outer edge of the base. Now came the hard part. "Spread out," Tahoe ordered quietly. 10 riders to the tower, 10 to the main shield generator. My team will target Mavic's ship. The riders split into 3 groups, moving to their positions. Tahoe led his group toward the largest ship, where Commander Mavic stayed. An alien guard walked just 5 steps from them, but saw nothing. The horses remained perfectly calm, their training holding even in this dangerous place. When all were in position, Tahoe gave the mental signal to Baeol, who passed it to the other horses. Asterisk now. All together asterisk. The air seemed to vibrate as all 30 horses activated their disruptive abilities at once. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The lights throughout the base flickered and died. The hovercrafts dropped to the ground with loud crashes. The communication towers sputtered and went dark. Alarms began to sound, but they too failed after a few seconds. In the distance, a bright fire flared up. The signal. And then the night exploded with sound as 45 more riders charged from 3 directions, no longer hidden but coming at full gallop. Their horses ran faster than any normal horse could run, their hooves thundering across the ground. The aliens rushed to defend their base, but their weapons wouldn't fire. Their communication devices were silent. They were confused and disorganized. The riders crashed into their lines like a wave hitting the shore. Farm tools struck alien bodies. Horses knocked hovercrafts aside with their enhanced strength. Tahoe and his team fought their way to Mavic's ship. The ramp was down, aliens running in and out in panic. Baeol charged up the ramp, knocking aliens aside. Inside, they found more chaos. The ship's controls sparked and smoked. In the main control room, Commander Mavic stood surrounded by guards. Unlike his soldiers, he was calm, watching the battle through a window. "I knew there was something special about this planet," he said when he saw Tahoe. "Something we missed." "You missed everything important," Tahoe replied. "This is our home. And those are not just horses." Outside, the battle turned clearly in the humans' favor. Without working weapons or vehicles, the aliens were overwhelmed by the speed and strength of the enhanced horses and their determined riders. Mavic looked at Baeol with new understanding. "They are weapons," he said. "Living weapons." "They are our friends," Tahoe corrected him. "Our partners, and they remember what your kind did in the old war." Mavic's guards moved to attack, but Baeol's disruptive field had already disabled their weapons. They were quickly subdued. "Surrender," Tahoe told Mavic. "Call off your forces, or this doesn't end well for any of you." 3 days after the battle, the villagers gathered in the center square. The alien ships were still there, but they sat dark and quiet on the ground, no longer floating threats, but simply metal shells. Commander Mavic stood before the villagers, flanked by 2 human guards. His scaled skin looked dull in the morning light. Behind him, the remaining Naviri, less than half their original number, waited silently. Elder Minji stepped forward, leaning on her cane. "Are the terms clear?" she asked the alien commander. Mavic nodded slowly. "They are clear. We will be allowed a small trading post here. Nothing more. No mining. No taking of land or resources without permission and fair payment." "And the others in the sky?" Tahoe asked, standing beside Elder Minji with Bayo close by his side. "I have sent the message," Mavic replied. "They know what happened here. They know what your horses can do." He looked at Bayo with a mix of fear and respect. "They will not risk coming down to fight." Sora stepped forward with a small device in her hand. The humans had found it in the alien ship and fixed it. "This translator will help us talk in the future," she said, handing it to Mavic. "For trading." Mavic took the device carefully. "You are not what we expected," he admitted. "When we saw you using animals for work, we thought you were primitive." "Different is not primitive," Elder Minji said firmly. "Our ancestors could have continued with machines only, but they chose a different path. They made partners, not just tools." Tahoe watched as the remaining aliens began loading their broken equipment onto their largest ship. According to their agreement, only 1 ship would stay at the edge of the village. The rest would return to the mothership. Doyan approached Tahoe, looking up at the sky. "Do you think they'll keep their word? Stay peaceful." "They know what will happen if they don't," Tahoe answered. Through his connection with Bayo, he could sense other horses nearby, all watching the aliens with careful attention. The horses won't forget again. As the day continued, something unexpected happened. Commander Mavic asked to see the stables. Tahoe led him there, staying alert the whole time. The alien walked slowly among the horses, studying them. The horses watched him calmly, no longer seeing him as a threat. "On our world," Mavic said suddenly, "we once had creatures we worked with. Not like your horses, but companions. We lost that connection as our technology grew." He reached out a scaled hand toward Bayo, then stopped. "May I?" he asked Tahoe. Tahoe hesitated, then nodded. Mavic gently touched Bayol's neck. The horse allowed it, her eyes watching the alien with intelligence. "Perhaps we have forgotten something important," Mavic said quietly. "Something you remembered." By evening, the alien ships rose into the sky, all except the 1 small craft that would serve as their trading post. The villagers watched them go, feeling both relief and pride. Later, as the sun set, Tahoe rode Bayol to the top of the high hill. From there, he could see all 3 villages spread across the highlands. People were cleaning up after the battle, rebuilding damaged homes, returning to their normal lives. He patted Bayol's neck gently. "Our ancestors knew what they were doing," he said. "They knew someday we would need you." Bayol turned her head to look at him, and through their connection, Tahoe felt her response, not in words, but in feelings. Partnership, protection, purpose. In the distance, children were running alongside young colts in a meadow. The special bloodlines would continue. The special bond would grow. Tahoe looked up at the stars, wondering what else might come from the sky someday. Whatever came, they would be ready. Not because they had the most advanced technology, but because they had partners who remembered. They had horses that carried the memory of war in their blood, but also the wisdom to know when to fight and when to make peace. As night fell, Tahoe and Bayol rode back down to the village, where lamps were being lit in windows, and the future felt secure once more.